In previous videos on the frame called scan, we've talked about various things that happen in relation to this very simple frame of looking at time before and after an arbitrary chosen now and certainty versus uncertainty. What happens though when people have different perspectives about how certain or uncertain something is? So for example, we can usefully draw a line between time to think and no time to think, when we have to be committed to the action, as opposed to having time to spare to look ahead. Now, in a conventional approach, we would say that, or a summary would be that we can place the boundary between the boundary of effective certainty, between where we are effectively certain and effectively uncertain about what's going on, where there is knowns versus unknowns. But what happens a lot is that different people have different perspectives. So for example, frontline staff may believe that, or may have the first-hand experience, that things are a lot less known than they think than we might expect. The boundary for them is well over to this side and everything else is less certain. But managers may well have the idea that it's very certain. So again, this is often driven by different time perspectives. People are up against the limits, up against the right and the edge of the world, up against time constraints, will have often much more difficulty in pinning things down to be certain. Whereas as opposed to people who can look at things over a longer period of time, will think they're more certain than they actually are. So often we will have operations having this kind of view, that things are less certain, whereas managers having a time scale of about, well, a week to say 3 months, will think things are much more certain. One of the reasons that happens is because we often have a problem with what I call information with the crusts cut off. What happens there is that the information coming from the front line contains everything, including all the nuances, the unstructured uncertainties, all the uniquenesses. But they're put into IT systems that cut off everything that doesn't fit, so that what managers see is information with the crusts cut off. What we end up with, in fact, is an illusion of certainty that the managers see, and absolute chaos at the front line, where all that's left is the unstructured mess. What also happens though is that people who have an even longer time scale, measured not in weeks or months but in years, can also see the same perspectives, the same uncertainties coming back. They see longer term uncertainties rather than short term ones, but they do at least see the uncertainties. So for example, that would be, think people like the strategy folks. So timescales, minutes to hours. This one is days to months. This one is measured in years. So our perspective of what is certain and what is not often depends on the timescale, and we need to be very wary about this issue around information with the crusts cut off. Thanks for watching. Do look at the YouTube description for links to further detail, and don't forget to subscribe for other videos, and also to support us on Patreon to help us produce these videos and the tools themselves.